It was nearly 20 years ago when I visited the country of Chad. I flew from Washington to Paris, then I caught a direct Air France flight straight to Jamena. I went to many places in Chad and I was quickly reminded of the vital importance of water. Half the country is desert, but water is precious everywhere. And I'll never forget meeting a man who'd been waiting months and months for baptism, but there was just no water. When I got to Chad, kind church members welcomed me like I was a long-lost family member. Everywhere they told me how happy they were that their world church hadn't forgotten them. I didn't know much about the country, but I did know it was poor. Not just uncomfortably poor, but kind of how are we going to survive tomorrow kind of poor. More than 80% of the population existed below the poverty line, and life expectancy was less than 48 years. I think it's fair to say that 20 years ago, most Adventists living in America or Europe or Australia or wherever hadn't given a whole lot of thought to the country of Chad. In fact, even today, many of us would probably have trouble even locating it on a map. And yet, I found a mission office in the capital, Jamena. I found vibrant churches and companies. I found schools filled with beautiful children and even a small hospital. And there was a large group of dedicated, sacrificial global mission pioneers who were planting new groups of believers around the country. I found a church in Chad which, like the rest of the country, was desperately poor. But here's my point. The church was alive, it was active, it was witnessing. They had projects and programs. They were making a difference in their community. And how did that happen? Well, it was through the work of the Holy Spirit and through church members around the world who had faithfully given their tithes and mission offerings, not knowing where each dollar would necessarily end up. Thanks to the church's system of tithes and offerings, mission in Chad had been funded by church members around the world who knew nothing about mission in Chad. I got to thinking about the old expression, the squeaky wheel gets the grease. Roughly translated, it means that whoever makes the most noise, they're the ones who get the most funding. And sometimes in our church, it's the big wheel organizations with the most interesting pictures, the most compelling video, the most heart-touching stories that get the big donations. They get the grease, so to speak, the funding. And that's great insofar as it goes. But what do we do about those parts of the world or those people groups who can't or don't squeak, so to speak? What do we do? Just ignore them? The church's system of regular and systematic offerings, what the stewardship ministries calls promise, is just like a river. Every time we give our mission offerings, we're adding water to a life-giving river that flows through often parched lands, bringing life and hope. We're helping the church grow not only locally, but also in areas we may not have even heard of. We're helping missionaries we may never meet. We're building schools and clinics we'll probably never visit. We're helping plant churches we may never worship in. But we're bringing life to the church's mission. I don't know what every drop of water in this river does or where it goes, but I see the results and they're beautiful. Psalm 104 says, "He sends the springs into the valleys. They flow among the hills. They give drink to every beast of the field. The wild donkeys quench their thirst. By them the birds of the heavens have their home. They sing among the branches." We have the privilege of helping church members see that their offerings are like a life-giving mission river flowing through often parched lands. This river makes it possible for missionaries to be placed all around the world. It helps the church's educational and medical and humanitarian ministries and so much more. The past few years, we've seen millions of people give their hearts to Jesus and join the Seventh-day Adventist Church. Thousands of new congregations have been started. How do we care for the nurture of these new believers? How do we provide resources and materials that they need? How do we provide ongoing pastoral care? Life-giving mission offerings given regularly and systematically help sustain and grow new work around the world. And that's what the church is all about.
Today I'm excited to be talking with Gary Krause. He is the Director of Global Mission, and he's going to be sharing with us a little bit about how we can be involved in global mission. There's so much happening around the world, and you might be wondering, how can I get involved? How can I be a part of what God is doing around the world? So today we're going to get a chance to hear from him.
Hi, how you doing?
Doing great. Even in conversations that I've had with other pastors, there's been this question of what does that mean, holistic mission? Sometimes there needs to be a little bit of clarity of what that looks like.
Okay, well, I can only say what it means to me.
Okay.
And to me, it's the way Jesus modeled his mission.
Yes.
That on the one hand, he preached and he taught. And we can go through the Gospels and we can see that. And if you get a red letter Bible, you can actually see the words that Jesus spoke. But if you look at it, he actually spent more of his time healing the sick, ministering to people's emotional and physical needs. And so on the one hand, he's sharing the good news of the kingdom verbally, but he's also demonstrating it through his actions. And so, you know, the best summary that I have seen of Christ's method is what Ellen White talks about in Ministry of Healing, page 143, that I just mentioned before. You have those components of mingling, showing sympathy, ministering to needs, winning confidence, and bidding people to follow Jesus. Now, life is messy, and you can't just say, okay, on stage one, now I'm moving to stage two, but it's a whole picture, and if we neglect any of those elements, then we sabotage mission. So if we are only interested in preaching, teaching, giving people seminars, giving people Bible studies, but we have not invested in their lives, if we haven't listened to them, if we haven't wept tears with them, if we haven't laughed with them, they're going to have an intellectual knowledge of these certain beliefs that we've given them, but are they going to be grounded as disciples in Jesus? Have they got that network that, you know, I use the example of Velcro that sticks things together. And if you look under the microscope, it's a combination of hooks and loops that come together, and you push them together, then you can pull them apart. And if you only have one hook and loop, maybe intellectual knowledge about Jesus, that's very easy to pull apart. But if you've had a holistic mission where you've actually, Jesus has touched your heart, not just a head, and where you've actually experienced a fellow Christian caring for your physical needs, you feel you've got that tighter bond, and discipleship is going to be that much stronger. So that's what I'm talking about, holistic mission. Not just, I mean, I believe in the literature ministry. I think media is wonderful, and we need all those things, but they can only support, they cannot replace one-on-one contact. I mean, Jesus was not content to stay in heaven and send us a leaflet. He wasn't content to send us, 28 fundamental beliefs on a piece of paper. He actually came down here. He got his hands dirty. He put on human skin. He became one with us, because that's how you do mission. Sorry, I'm preaching too much.
Yeah, no, I love that. That's huge. It's incarnational. I am with you. It's not an us or them, where it's like, okay, I'm over here. What can we go over there to reach them? But I'm actually here in this. This is a we. This is we are in this together, and I'm here to do life with you. Such a different approach. It's instead of like, how can we change them? It's like, wow, this is changing me, and we're changing together, and let's see where God is taking us together. So I love that.